Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, place of binding by AFTERBIRTH plus 11 wins in a row. Feeling good, confident, cool, calm, collected, never mind. SNXC, X2VL. Stats could be worse. Let's be honest on the statistics. It's just 1 HP plus Plan C is very frightening to look at right off the get-go. It doesn't mean that we're that much in trouble. You know, rate of fire is good, poison tears. You know, if you want to get really into the nitty-gritty, our luck stat is okay. You know, I don't know how much that actually means in the whole scheme of things, but really, I mean, it simplifies our life, you know, when you're just looking at the next steps that are immediately in front of your face. We don't need to worry, oh, and then we'll get this, and the deal with the devil, and the whatnot, and the who, and the what. We don't have to worry about that. All we got to worry about is, hey, don't get hit. And find a tinted rock or a key so you can go to the shop and get a spirit heart. And if you can get that, you know, this run's got every capability to succeed. It needs a little bit more grease on the front end, but there's no reason to believe it can't be running with the big dogs in just a bit. Champion, always a little spooky, but at least there's only one. If you'll forgive me, temporarily, I'm probably going to be a little bit distracted by the game to talk about anything but the game, which it seems like a weird thing for a YouTuber to apologize. I don't know, you know, who cares, really? Is your first episode? If so, welcome. I always have to think statistically it's probably somebody's first episode. You know, people are coming in and out of the channel at all times. Maybe they're back for the first time in several years. It happens, you know, you follow a content creator when you're in 11th grade, now you're graduated from college and you got a little bit of free time and you're like, you know, maybe I'll see this guy. And you're like, wow, he's still playing the same game? I gotta see this. And then you click on it and before you know it, you're 20 episodes deep and you're getting back in on the lore and you're like, oh yeah, but you're the guy who did the pot play. And it's a whole thing. You know, I understand it. I've been there, dude. Please, God, I just want one tinted rock with spirit hearts. Pisces is pretty solid. Don't get me wrong. But for our single tinted rock to not have a spirit heart is an extreme bummer. I would really, at this point, just take a spacebar item to get Plan C out of my life. I'm nervous about it. Okay, the run is fine. If we can kill the boss and get a key from it, I mean, even that, we don't need to do that to win, obviously, but just for my own well-being, it would be okay. Or it would be better than okay. It'd be very, very, very helpful. HP, that's also fine. You know, we don't even need to worry about it anymore. Everything's going okay. Still would like to get rid of Plan C at our earliest leisure, because every time I hit the space bar, I'm like a little nervous that somehow there's a curse of the whatever, and I'm gonna end up hitting myself. But it's likely this will be worth it. I've screwed it up. Okay, let's just call our, you know, we'll what's the expression? Cut our losses. I really thought we had the room. I still sort of think we did, and I just botched it. We didn't really cut our losses. We're cutting our gains. It's not an expression you hear that often. It's the honest to goodness truth in this situation, though. Just stay cool. Very little to worry about. What's on the docket for the rest of the day? I don't know, man. We got a little NLSS later today. Just really would like to see a single key for the record. I don't know what we're gonna play yet. I've talked about, you know, how I feel about the days of the week ad nauseum recently, because the days of the week, you know, what else is there? Days of our lives? Nah, dude. Days of the week. Like the Stone Temple Pilots song, everybody forgets. But Monday, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they all got their own individual flavor. Today's a NLSS plus recording day. It's always, it's a busy day, but it's a nice way to get back to the week. And anytime I get an excuse to hang out with my good friends Mike and usually Josh as well, I'm a happy man. I mean, this... Just drop it, dude. Josh hasn't been on the show as much lately because he's been planning his wedding. And I have, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to have him on every single Monday show. But I also understand, you know, it's a huge deal, you know, planning a wedding. We were really lucky. Like, front to back, our wedding probably took less than 6 hours to plan, which is absurdly low. And I mean, it wasn't like it was a big thing. Like, we just did it at a restaurant. And then, thankfully, we're going to be able to go to our item room. And then we had lunch, and then we took a nap while I watched Forensic Files on TV. It was awesome. It ruled. It probably cost us less than $500 as well. And that, if you know, depending on where you're at in your life, that might seem like a lot. But really, we had to pay the government official who has to observe the wedding. We had to pay her like $200. So once you factor that into the budget, you know, you're not... And that's... A lot of people are also probably going to be like, that's real small for a wedding. Yeah, absolutely, it ruled. We'll probably do something a little bit more, you know, a little larger for an anniversary at some point down the road. But, you know, I liked our low-key wedding, but I also understand that, you know, if you're doing it up, you want to do it up proper. You know, I got great sympathy for the fact that my man's involved in an incredible amount of preparation. It's a lot of work for just one day. And you know what's weird is that, you know, the wedding's for you, but it's also like, it's for everybody that goes. Like, sure, am I inconvenienced by going to Josh's wedding? Literally, yes. You know, I gotta take a couple of flights to go see my friend on what's supposed to be the happiest day of his life. You know, woe is me. But keep in mind, once I get to the wedding, basically, all of my needs are personally handled. It really feels like it should be the other way around. Like, when you're a guest at a wedding, you should be like, hey, let me pay for my meal. You're spending a lot of money on flowers today. But it's not how it goes, dude. Like, I'm gonna go and I think there's like a buffet. And it's like, Josh was telling me it was gonna be like 80-something bucks per person. And on the one hand, I'm like, you know, that's rough, dude. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm gonna eat a crap load of prime rib. I'm gonna eat a staggering amount of prime. If the unit cost doesn't change, I'm going ham, dude. I owe that to my friend, that if he's gonna be paying 80 bucks per meal for people at a wedding, at his wedding, I should say, I'm gonna close him down. I'm gonna try anyway. I'll probably end up having, like at the Brazilian steakhouse we ate at TwitchCon, I'll probably have too much smoked salmon. Then they come around and they're like, beef tenderloin, and I'm like, I'm kind of full. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have any hypocrisy to point out with weddings specifically. I'm not one of those people. You know these people. I picked up the question mark card again accidentally. You know, why waste your money on a wedding when you blah? Marriage is an old construct and blah. You know, you can believe that. I don't care. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with you. I just, you know, I just don't care. I live my life like Tommy Lee Jones in the 1995 film The Fugitive. I don't care. You want to do it up proper? Go for it. I got friends, you know, I'm not close friends necessarily, but I'm, you know, friends with, I mean, I've been friends with this guy for like a decade. We hung out when he lived in Vancouver. You know, met his partner many, many times. One weekend, he was just like, check it out, bro. We got married. They just went into like the woods and got married. Was I like, oh, you didn't invite me? Oh, you didn't have a big day where I could give you a blender and you could give me a 3-course meal in return? No, I was like, dude, that's awesome. By the way, you did it up right by my standards. Just go into the woods and then, you know, sign a piece of paper. You're good to, you know, go back. Watch Forensic Files. Take a nap. Then it's one of the best naps I've ever had in my life. And then I've been to weddings where people are like, you know, some people are very, very into the idea of having a big wedding with like their whole family there, and you know, dozens or even hundreds of guests on both sides, and you know, that's cool too. It's not my day. What do I care? You show up, you put on a nice set of clothes. You got the easiest job in the world. Just be in your seat and clap when you're supposed to clap, and then, you know, don't do the thing that, you know, in all the cringe videos where somebody gives, like, a speech at the wedding, but then they make the speech about themselves. Like, we've all seen the videos where, like, the dude gets up to give, like, a best man speech, but then he turns it into, like, a stand-up routine that throws both husband and wife under the bus. That's not what you're there for, dude. You gotta know your audience, okay? Here's what your responsibility in a best man speech. I've never given one, but I've seen like a whole heck of a lot of them. You tell a story about your friend who's getting married that seems embarrassing, but is actually not even close to the most embarrassing thing in their life, you know? And then once you tell the embarrassing story, everybody has a good-natured laugh, and then you go, yeah, but in all seriousness, you know, I remember when friend told me that he met someone, and I said, oh yeah, what's this one like? And then you say, and then he said, and you describe the bride in the most flattering way possible. And then, you know, here we are 4 years later, and he's happier than I've ever seen him. You hold up the champagne flute. Cheers to you guys. It's a beautiful day. Have a good time. I'm out. That's it. That's all you gotta do. I was walking to the grocery store the other day, and I was thinking to myself, hey, if this loser can find someone, we're all set. Don't do that. That's dumb. Obviously. And also, like, you gotta be careful. It's all best man politics. Who cares, dude? People, they got a lot of options for best men, you know, or you know, even just being in the bridal party. I'm not one. As far as I'm concerned, is excellent. I'm not in Josh's groom's party. I don't know what the heck it's called. Am I offended? No. My man has done me an incredible favor. Instead of, and of course, if he had been like, hey, do you want to, you know, be my third dude or something like that? Because he's got a, you know, he's got a family as well. He's got friends that live closer to him, and he's got a brother, and, you know, you get the idea. I would have been like, sure, I'll do it. But instead of having to be there for the awkward staged photos in, like, the yard of the wedding venue or whatever they do, where they're like, throwing a football around. I don't know. I've seen the room. That's about it. Yo, finally. We finally got rid of the curse that could have ruined our run. Instead, I get to fly in, sleep in, have a nice little, you know, breakfast maybe at the hotel restaurant or something like that, go to the church, and then I do. And then I get to eat a sweet meal, and then when people are like, are you gonna dance? I go, I don't really do that. That's my day. It's easy. It's the greatest gift he could have given me. Anyway, I know I got people. I went to high school. This is just an example of, and I wasn't bragging about being in high school and all that. I'm sure many of you have done the same. But I'm just using this as an example of how things can change, or how your attitudes can change, I should say. I went to high school with a girl, and I remember in English class, for whatever reason, I think we were probably talking about like a streetcar named Desire or something like that. And, you know, in 12th grade, I don't know what your English teachers were like, but we were starting to get into some serious, like, who are you and what do you believe issues. And she, for whatever reason, the impetus had come up, and she was like, I don't really see myself getting married. You know, it seems like an antiquated concept. You know, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, blah, blah like to insult her, but just blah, blah, blah. Like, you can fill in the blanks for the rest of it. Wouldn't you know it? She was like the first of my high school classmates to get married. You know, things change. You might believe that, and I don't know. Maybe you don't. I also have friends to this day who are like, I don't understand why you would get married. It just seems like if you break up, it makes things more complicated. Fair enough. I don't know. Everybody's on their own path, man. Not everything has to be an argument, you know? Tell you though, if you got a choice, you know, the wedding, you know, is something sacred between you and your partner for sure. But if you got a choice, if you're weighing the odds between, do I want to spend like 10 grand on like a big church thing and the, you know, the hot plate buffet and etc., etc.? Or do I just want to, you know, get married at City Hall? I'm just saying. Maybe you're a different person than I am. Maybe years down the line, you'll regret it. You'll be like, I really wish we'd done something for our wedding, you know? I don't feel that at all. I'm like, I don't feel like, for me personally, that we compromised and we're like, you know, well, you know, we want to have a big day, but it's expensive. Instead, you know, at the time at least, we were both on the same page of like, why would we go through all of this when we could just like be married in 2 months? You know, my family was there. My mom and dad were there. Kate's mom and dad were there. Boom. You're done. After that, I'll take the wood plank cedar salmon, please. And give me a side roll of every damn Bruslin. See, I had to think about the callback there. It's been 45 minutes since the last episode. I'm not saying you won't regret it, because I'm not comfortable with that level of responsibility for your life. All I'm saying is I don't regret it. I don't look back and go, man, I really wish I did something else on that day. I look back and go, dude, that nap was sick. It was a nice day. But I don't know. I think both Kate and myself kind of looked on our wedding as the chore that you need to do to be married. Not as like a celebration of our relationship. But maybe one day, you know, we've been talking 10th anniversary is not that far away. We'll go have something a little bit more traditional somewhere. I don't know. Who knows, dude? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the world will end in 10 years. Probably not. But, you know, I'm not even saying... Not even climate change, dude. Whatever, you know, like you read that news story today? Scientists found 84 supermassive black holes on the edge of the observable universe. I don't even know the consequences of that. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I was like, man, it seems like a lot. I mean, 84 of anything. Supermassive. That's a lot, right? I don't know. I don't know anything about astronomy, apart from, like, the names of the planets in order. It's one of my weaker Jeopardy categories, you know? Like, I know the names of the planets. When it comes even to planetary moons, I know one. The Moon, maybe you've heard of it. I know that one orbits Earth. But you're like, well, which one is Io on? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure Titan is a Jupiter moon. What about Ceres? I don't know. Honestly, Venus is my guess. Do I know these? Are these correct? It beats me. Seems like one of those things in advance of the preparatory test you should probably look at. Who cares about the pills, dude? I don't know anything astronomical. It still is stunning to me that you can, like, look into space. And I know that sounds maybe very dumb. But it's not dumb. It's not meant to be dumb. It's meant to be curious. Like, when I think of a telescope, I think of, like, you know, a few lenses set up to magnify things that are, on a celestial sense, pretty close. The fact that, you know, there's... This does not appear to be the shop, by the way. The fact that you can actually use... I'm not even going to say a telescope, but some kind of telescopy to look to what is the edge of the observable universe, that's mind-blowing to me. They didn't cover that in my high school physics class. We learned a lot of really useful stuff. I know what a calorimeter is. F equals MA, so on and so forth. But, when it comes to that, dude, I got no idea. Even, like, at my, you know, when I was in my freshman year at university, I was still very much in that phase of, like, I'm gonna try every new thing that I can. I went out to, like, an open astronomy night, because there's, like, an observatory at the school. And it was cool, don't get me wrong. They had a domed building up there, and the acoustics, I mean, that's where the telescope is, but the acoustics were such, I don't know if you've ever been in a room like this, but if you know, if you're on one edge of the, like, circumference of the room, and you speak into the wall, it directly channels your acoustics to, like, the other side of the room. So you could actually, it's super, like, bizarre mentally to do it, but you could have a conversation with somebody that's on the other side of the room by just, like, whispering into this dome. And it's not the only one in the world, because I know there's one in... it's in the British Museum or something? The Hall of Whispers? Or is this Harry Potter? I might have it confused with Hogwarts. But I remember nothing else from the evening. All I remember is the whispering dome. And they were probably like, well, if you use this telescope, you can look at the edge of the observable universe. And here I am, 13 years later, like, nobody told me, dude. There was nothing I could do. Help. Dude, I'm too... I can't get out of the gravitational pull. I don't know. Please let me go. Well, we can talk about Isaac for a second. How do you feel about this run? Dude, I got no freaking idea. It seems fine, but 4.65 damage is real on the low side. Battery, baby, plus any defensive item that gives us, you know, hearts is real nice. But we're underpowered physically for sure. We will probably get a 3rd level. It doesn't really matter if we take this, I guess. We'll probably get a 3rd level Meat Boy at some point. It does help. It doesn't help that much. So we're kind of at the mercy of the run. I think it should be a win, obviously, just because pretty much any Isaac run should be a win at this point in our lives. But I'm hoping maybe the 38.13% chance of a deal with the devil repeating, of course, it pays dividends for us, and we'll be living a better life momentarily. Oh, I almost hit the button there for no reason. Momentarily. So I'm thinking we fight. I know we haven't been to the item room. I'm gonna let Telepills choose. It could either give us an error room, which is probably, you know, it has the chance to be as good as an item room, or it'll let us leave the boss fight. Of course, I was hoping to maybe sneak a little boss rush access into this run. But obviously not plausible at this point. I think we can afford to take multi-dimensional baby. Judas' Shadow is like, it's here for 2 reasons. One is, you know, tactically we could double our damage. The other one is just as a failsafe in case things go wrong. It also enables permanent Polaroid invincibility, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I looked at it and I was like, do I really want to go that way? Then I just did it anyway. And, you know, the other reason is the failsafe, I think. It's painful to lose all these bone hearts, dude. Where was I headed with this one? I forgot what I was saying. Oh, you know, it's a spotty run for sure. The deal with the devil was helpful, but it didn't provide us with any items that I'd really consider super amazing. I will say, I mean, dude, maybe we actually just want to totally become Dark Judas right here. Let's see what's in our item room. Because if we did it right now, we'd double our damage. Sure, we'd lose out on the bone hearts, which are very resilient, but we could start building a demon heart, or a bomber dude. We can start building another run just on HP terms pretty much immediately. So I think I will just take advantage of this, and, you know, is this the right call? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't really want to use every single bomb that we have to do this. Is there... It turns out I should have just left some opportunities open. I know there's a blood bank. So you know what? Let's go play the blood bank. That seems like the most prudent use of our limited resources here. There's a battery charge available back there. Just, you know, you don't die. Don't permanently die by being a big old dummy. That's the only thing here. There you go. And if you get hit, oh well. We actually do want to maximize charges for sure. We have 6 luck almost. It's amazing. I would accept Blood Bag, because we could just step on the spikes in here and then pick up Blood Bag and get what's actually a much-needed speed upgrade. Just remember, this is for me. The money is not actually worth that much. You know, it might seem like it's a big thing to walk on top of the spikes here. Who cares? There you go. 1 luck upgrade is all I could really ask for. So we got 10 damage, 4 rate of fire. Totally acceptable. Few complaints. High Priestess is fine to hold as well. Sorry to talk about Isaac's strategy here, but I think we had a moment where definitely it was advantageous for us to take advantage of paying attention. We could go to the boss trap room. I don't really think it's that necessary. Anyway. Let's get the heck out of town. We're the same speed, so I think we'll... Oh my god, the bomb blocked it? The man with the world's longest sigh. When you're right, you're right. Take me out of here. I did mention it, but dude, and you probably heard me talk about it a little bit. I'm stretching the topic a little bit, but I do want to say I had a lot of people. You know, I watched that F1 documentary on Netflix, and I would recommend it. I thought it was an enjoyable watch. I do see a Tinted Rock in here. Maybe we can just beat the system. There we go. And as a result, you know, I watched the Australian Grand Prix this weekend. It's on, and it's one of the only races, really, especially in the first, you know, 2/3 of the season, that's on at a reasonable time if you live on the west coast of North America. Started at like 10 p.m. Pacific time, which was nice. I feel like I've been told a lot of lies about motorsport over the course of my life. For example, I was somehow, I mean, definitely from a North American perspective, the most feedback I've ever, or the preconception I had of F1 is that it's boring. And without being rude, it's not boring. Like, there's a lot of laps. I mean, the majority of the laps, at least in this race, no places changed hands. And it's more about, like, you know, simmering battles where somebody's, you know, 4 seconds behind, but they're gaining 1/3 of a second per lap, and there's 13 laps left, but, you know, the pit strategy has put them on the hard tires, so they might slow down a little bit, but who knows if they drive the crap out of the car, then, oh, but the power unit just failed. You know, you get the idea. It's not that there's constantly stuff, you know, like, really important stuff happening that changes the outcome of the race, but in comparison to a lot of other North American sports, it's very dense. And I mean that in by far the best way I could possibly get that across. Like, it's an hour and 20 minutes. No commercial breaks. They run commercials in, like, picture-in-picture on the side of the screen. So you're constantly, like, you know, watching. As opposed to, and I love hockey, of course. We really should have taken our ability to fly to that Tinted Rock over there, but... Oh, we don't have any bombs anyway. You know, I love hockey, but, you know, there's 60 minutes of active game time. A lot of downtime, you know, whistles and TV timeouts. A hockey game typically takes maybe like 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2 hours and 30 minutes to get through. Less than half of the time is actual active gameplay. I don't even want to know for an NFL game, you know, and I'm not insulting the NFL. You like what you like. Sports ball. Well, okay, good one. But, you know, an NFL game, I have to imagine, is even less dense, you know, where plays are typically, like, under 10 seconds long. Dude, I honestly think we need the speed just temporarily here. Thank you. And we'll go pick up the Tinted Rock back here. And get some spirit. get some Bob's Rotten Head. Okay, get yourself a little something something. So I actually feel like boring is not the right word for it. Are meaningful things constantly happening? No, it's much more of a, I mean, I've only watched one race in my entire life, okay? But it's much more like, you know, anything could happen, but, you know, most laps are kind of like, you know, the person that was in 13th is likely to still be in 13th at the end of this lap. But dude, next lap, who knows? But it was a lot of fun. I'm not seriously contemplating it yet, but I'm like, man, I could. The Bahrain Grand Prix is in 2 weeks. It starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time because the network I watch it on is based in Toronto. They put everything in Eastern time. So it's 6 a.m. roughly Pacific time. The odds of me, you know, actually getting up for it are very low. By the time it's over, it'll be 7:20. I guess I could just go back to bed, but I don't know. I don't think I've reached that point yet. I'm gonna have to, you know, set up an old TiVo or something like that. But I enjoyed it. For those of you who were curious about how I was gonna feel about F1 having actually watched a real race, I enjoyed it. And you know what? I also I enjoyed the qualifying as well. When it comes to, like, you know, there's some F1 fanatics. If you're not familiar with Formula 1, the structure of a race is essentially like it's a whole weekend long. And the first couple of days, they get a bunch of practices, they run out, and, you know, they do set, like, lap times and stuff like that. But mostly they're like, hey, what's the race strategy? You know, get acclimated to how you're supposed to take these turns. And, you know, what does it feel like on these tires? What does it feel like with, you know, the power unit set to blah, blah. That stuff, you know, if you're into it, that's dope that you get like a whole weekend of your favorite sport. But it's a lot of minutia for me at this current level. But, you know, the spectacle of qualifying combined with you know, the relative brevity of the actual race itself is cool, dude. If you had, oh, jeez Louise, please let me go. If you were under the impression that, you know, a Formula 1 race is unwatchable because it's too long, you are incorrect. It's like it's shorter than a soccer game. Well, at least this one was. It's close, to be fair. If you want a good reason not to watch Formula 1, it's because if you live in North America, most of the races are on way too early by our standards. But also, a reasonable time for the bulk of the viewing audience, which makes perfect sense. I mean, you know, I'm not complaining. There's probably a little bit of irony involved here, because I'm sure that some people are watching and are like, oh, really? Something's on at a bad time for you? Well, I'd love to watch your show, but unfortunately, it airs at, you know, it starts at midnight my time, and I can't really justify, or, I mean, like, staying up late, I don't know about you. I've talked about the wonders of sleep recently. Here's how we can pivot from the sports ball onto a more universal topic if you're still here, okay? I love sleep, and I've been a big fan of waking up early recently. But when it comes to, like, a special event, I think I'm still in that camp of, like, I would much rather stay up a little late to watch something than wake up what would for me be, well, let me put it this way. Staying up 2 hours late feels less of a chore for me, and this is probably nearly universal, than waking up 2 hours early. I think so. Like when the Olympics, the Winter Olympics were in Russia in 2014, I stayed up to watch the gold medal hockey game. And it was on at like 3:30 or 4 a.m. But I don't know, there's probably a threshold. Like if you were to look at it on a graph, there's probably a threshold where it's like, would you rather stay up for 6 hours or wake up 1 hour early? I would rather wake up 1 hour early for sure. Would you rather stay up for 3 hours or wake up 1 hour early? I'd rather wake up 1 hour early. But like if a race is at 6 a.m., that's kind of tough, man. That's a tough place if you're used to going to bed at like roughly midnight. getting 6 hours of sleep and then waking up and having like a work day is one thing. It's not necessarily pleasant. Some people are better off with more sleep than other people, but or at least they tolerate it better. But willingly getting up at 6 a.m. for a leisure activity on a Sunday, I don't know if I've hit that level of maturity in my life yet, you know? I don't know if I've hit that level of dadliness where I would feel like, you know, and what I mean by that is, you know, like you ever go on a family vacation, like a road trip, and your parents, you know, your dad wakes up 3 hours earlier than usual. It's like, come on, we said we'd be in the car by 7:10 so we could beat the traffic. And you're like, yeah, Dad, but that was before we were just nodding to agree with you. We weren't actually, like, gonna do that. Are you insane? Just get on the road at 10, dude. What does it matter? I haven't hit that level yet. I am always the one, you know, between Kate and myself, driving the early voyages, though. I'm always packed and, you know, got my luggage at the door. And I'm waiting for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, if we don't leave right away, we're only gonna be 14 hours early for our flight. I know that the airport only recommends that you be there 3 hours early, but what if they're wrong? I don't know where I am. Please. Tyrone, Ed, I'm just, like, you know, we've been around the block a few times in Isaac. Do we have to do this on the cathedral? Do we have to do this on the chest? Is there any joy derived from this in a Marie Kondo sort of way? You know? Watching me just walk around the environment over and over, I mean, maybe. Sure, I could keep a mental map. I could bust out the graph paper and figure out where the heck I'm going. But is that really the spirit of Isaac? I don't think so. It's a mild inconvenience, okay? Don't get me wrong. I did see Ed's tweet that he's excited for 2019, which is the year that we're in. I'm not getting it twisted. You know, he's got Legend of Bumbo coming out, the DLC for Isaac called Repentance, some Four Souls expansion pack DLC, I don't know what you call it when it's a board game, maybe some secret projects, and starting to work on eugenics again, possibly if time allows. It's exciting. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not like, more Isaac content. I'm excited for Repentance to come out. You know, it's just, I'm at a simmer. I'm at a rolling simmer. It's not really, you know, what is this? I mean, we've been around since day one of Flash Isaac. I've been there for the Halloween update, Wrath of the Lamb, multiple patches that added, you know, somewhere between, you know, 0 and 75 new items, right? 5 booster packs, the release of Rebirth, the release of Afterbirth, the release of Afterbirth Plus. I've been down the road is all I'm saying. So for me personally, I'm at a simmer. It'll come out when it comes out, and we'll dive back in when we do. Taking some terrible damage. This is kind of what happens, you know, when you got 0.78 speed at this point of the game as well. I'm still excited for Isaac. I do feel comfortable saying that, like, you know, there have definitely been years, for sure, where I was like, most exciting thing coming out this year, new Isaac content. I don't feel that way anymore just because Isaac is, you know, it's old, dude. And I love Isaac. You gotta be loving it to play as much of this game as I have. This is just truly staggering amount. But I will say that following this DLC, I would consider it completely acceptable if the devs are like, you know what? We're gonna simmer on the Isaac a little bit. If we're gonna make an Isaac 2, you know, we're gonna let it, you know, give it a couple of years to get something going on. Roguelites, I wouldn't say they've fallen out of fashion so much so far. We already have Bookworm done, I think so. But they're not quite the new hotness that they were for probably the last 2 or 3 years. We've lived through the age of the roguelite, and as far as I'm concerned, Isaac is still, you know, it's one of the 3 best. Whether you think it's the best or not, it comes down to, like, personal preference. I love Slay the Spire. I love FTL. There's probably other examples. You know, a lot of people would probably put Dead Cells up there. I personally wouldn't, but I do. There's a lot to like about Dead Cells, for sure. I love the combat. The actual roguelite style of it is not really my jam that much. I'm probably forgetting some other roguelites as well. And then those are like the A tier roguelites for me. I maybe even would put Dead Cells up there. Let's call them S tier. Then you get into like the A tier roguelites, and there's, I mean, obviously like Rogue Legacy's up there. What keeps it from being S? It's not really that like replayable. Still a great game. Hey, mister. Oh, I mean, Gungeon, you would probably... I feel remiss for not including Gungeon in there. It's just there's a lot, okay? You know, and a lot of roguelites that people have probably forgotten about as well. Like, you remember Teleglitch? I was thinking about that game the other day. Teleglitch is incredible. I'm so bad at it, and I played so little of it, but... What's the new hotness? Mark my words, okay? And I don't think I'm the first person to say this. I think I'm even a little late to the party. This year, next year, the year beyond it, my prediction is the year of the city builder / Factorio / Rimworld style sandbox. Factory Town, Satisfactory, and I'm sure many more to come. Hey, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!